it's complete ignorance, or how would you call it? I even don't know. And you must really think about it. And it's a sharp contrast when you see these two pictures.
Well, I wouldn't call it ignorance as much as I would call it arrogance in America. All right.
Yeah, I agree.
And the attitude is because everybody's like talking down to me whenever I say I'm not going to travel yet, I'm going to wait. And everybody, well, and I have a rare disease and I just don't want to compromise myself anymore or my family and put them in a situation. But, they want me to go to events and things like that. And I'm like, no, not yet. But they go, and other family who go, well, I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to let me live in fear. And I'm going, you're absolutely right. You're not going to live if you're not going to. But nobody is, right? If you have that kind of attitude, I mean, how is that being respectful to somebody who has a compromised situation and they're going to the store? Well, they can wear a mask. But if you're not wearing a mask, you can. So people have this really self-entitled civil right liberty attitude right now. And it's really kind of disappointing because I would never go out of my way if there was something that could compromise them to hurt them because I wanted to live a little better, a little better or freer. I wouldn't go out of my way to do that, but they do. So, and only in the US are you going to find this attitude. I don't see it heavily embedded in other countries. I'm sure you have it in other countries, but it's not heavily embedded. And we have a wonderful person here, Mukesh Sinha.
Yeah, hello,
Welcome.
namaste.
Namaste. So where are you from?
I'm from Delhi, India.
Okay. And we get a little bit of updates from Ankit, but share us with your point of view of how things are going.
We are on the digital field, particularly in AI and healthcare. So it's a tough, but it is moving because you have seen in such kind of pandemic situation, particularly two things are moving quite good. One is entire thing is getting digitalized, whether it is a business, e-commerce, whether it is education or banking or any field. So digitalization is happening, and post lockdown probably it would take further pace would be much higher. Similarly, role of AI, artificial intelligence, is also going to be more significant, uh, where the things which is very repeated and very common, it can replace with the conversational AI. So we can say overall this digital field and AI is happening good. As far as healthcare is concerned, yes, we have a lot of challenges overall. Uh, because anything and everything is now talking about only COVID-19. But we know life is not just about COVID-19. So many other disease, lifestyle disease, so many critical diseases are there. So I don't know what is the data is showing. It has none exist or it has improved. But yes, these days for last particularly 3 months we have been talking about only COVID-19.
Well, I think it's because it's the most current event happening, and that's what happens to be what goes on in the world, right? That's where media focuses is what's the trend, right? And COVID-19 became the trending word, just like you have trending clothes and trending, fashions and art and music. COVID-19 just happens to be the media trend. But you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you made this point is that this is not the only disease we need to be concerned about. And
Correct.
If we focus too much on that, then people are going to die from the other diseases. Just like there's been a big concern about everything kind of shifting to people with mental issues and depression, and because they've stayed home too long, that there could be a concern of suicidal rates going on the rise. So we just need to be open-minded at this point. I think we're very much informed. I don't know if it's well, but we're very much informed about COVID. There's a lot of data out there, but the big transparent thing is that we should know by now that if you have certain symptoms, phone your doctor, right?
Correct.
Go get tested.
Correct.
So at this point, I think we could positively say, if there's an option to move forward and focus on the other diseases now and the other sicknesses. And just like me, they just opened up the door to, for 2 months, I didn't get to receive my medical treatments, but now they've opened up the door to my medical treatments. And so, and it has impacted my body. It's impacted me greatly because I didn't receive them for 2 months. But the risk was too high for me to go in, for fear that somebody was going to spread it. And, now we know more about it, right? Like you said, artificial intelligence is out there to help us do some things with the data. So we're moving forward. And we need to start focusing on these other things. But just keep in mind that this can spread again, right?
Correct.
Mukesh,
I think,
yeah,
the
go
health
ahead.
sector is moving because, since the COVID happened to everyone is trying to improvise and optimize the health sector, and it's happening around the world. And if you talk about health sector now, AI is something which is very important, and we have to integrate AI and all those technologies so that if something happened in future in terms of this kind of pandemic, we will be more than ready to manage it out in terms of data. Right now, the data, whatever we are seeing, we are still not sure whether the data is accurate or is real time or it's what. Although there are a lot of data available, but I'm concerned, are we working towards the data to finalize what is the conclusion about it? Because we can see the data. Some of the countries are working towards it. Some of the countries are learning from that, but a lot of them are not learning, and they wanted to have their own data. So where do you see AI stand in next couple of years, maybe, especially in terms of healthcare?
See, for the ages, we have been hearing about health is wealth. So, in fact, COVID-19 really bring the health on the center stage, and we have seen 6 billion plus people across the world. Uh, Different countries had different approach, different standard of healthcare. But one thing is very common: even you have the resources and technology, you are not able to fight back with COVID-19, and that's the reason it is like even richest countries have the biggest problem. So we need to integrate technology into the healthcare. The moment we are integrating technology in the healthcare, then we are ensuring about access to masses. Second thing, it's not necessary you need to every time come to the hospitals, because telemedicine and other kind of AI technology with data and other things, we can in the future we can predict what would be the next, or what could be the next round of any pandemic. So yes, it has to be now global phenomenon. So we need to have a data, particularly WHO. I would say that they should have a like master data bank. So any kind of pandemic is happening, they should be in the position to inform to the masses. Yes, let's prepare for the next level. So it is we should not be the next surprise. So it lockdown and awareness that's bring this healthcare in the focus. Yeah, we have to improve that with much better approach.
Well, that's a very powerful statement. And I think one of the problems is that, I have with WHO and CDC was, we discovered CDC, who is supposed to be actually producing data for the world as well as just for the United States, had classified documents concerning this virus. And that is, no health organization of any kind should ever withhold any information from the public. None whatsoever. It should 100% be transparent of all medical findings. at any given time. There should be no intellectual property owned by any of these agencies because they are paid for by the taxpayers' dollars, or they're paid for by the government, which is paid for by the taxpayer dollars. So I have a little bit of a concern and problem with the WHO and the CDC because I think that they need to be liable for withholding any information and the damage that it caused. And if they were providing information to higher level of authorities, that's still very wrong because they're for the public. They're not there for the government. They are there for public information. You know, they're not private entities. You know, NASA is a private entity in many, many ways. So it's okay with me if they have classified documents, intellectual property, and things like that. You know, but any government agency shouldn't be. You know, not for health. You know, if they are because of their strategic war and things like that, that's fine. You know, but anyway, let's take a look at some economic data that I find interesting. Seeing how we're here to talk about the economic data, and this is something I learned about the other day. Is the debt clock? I've known it existed, but I just don't ever go visit it. And now I keep it up all the time. Can you guys see this?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Is that insane?
My God.
I mean, it looks like the worldometers, or it looks like the United States with coronavirus, right? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. We'll take a look at the worldometers here in a minute, but look at that. That's your debt clock for the United States. I don't know if there's one for the world. But it'd be interesting to compare it to other countries right now. It'd be very, yeah. Whoa is right. It'd be nice.
There's a big number to understand what's going on, but it looks like everyone is in debt now.
Well, we're all in debt. We're indebted. We're indentured slaves anyway in this country. Those of us who got a large student loan, you're a slave to that debt now, right? You've got to pay it back for the rest of your life, unless you figure out a way to pay it all back in one lump sum. But many students graduate with what's more than a mortgage. So, and I don't know if it's like that in other countries, but it's definitely bad here. We're trained to think go in debt as opposed to trained to think to save and retire, you know, healthy and wealthy. Like you were talking about, wealthy and healthy go together, right? But if you're not healthy, you're probably not going to be wealthy because you're going to be spending your money just like this, right?
Correct.
That's just hypnotizing, isn't it? To me, it's mind-boggling to see the debt climb at such a ridiculous rate. And for our leaders to say that we're in the best position we've ever been, or we could be in worse, I don't know. I find it just interesting. But anyway.
What I've understood is the company is in debt, but people, or maybe people who have power, both in terms of business as well as political, they are doing good in terms of wealth.
The people were empowered, and somebody pointed out the other day an interesting fact. You know, they're all starting to do this because it's campaign year, and they go, "Oh, guess what? So and so just voted himself a raise." The Democrats, and I go, they all were there. That's the only day all of them show up at the same time. And all of them show up to vote. It's for their own raises, and they all voted for their own raises. So don't point the finger that the Dems voted for their own raises or the Republicans. They can't get a raise unless they all vote for it. I will promise you that's the only day the Senate is full, the House is full. I will promise you, the day that they get to vote for their raises. They were talking about how he voted himself $71,000 raise that year or something. And if you go look at one of our House of Representatives, his budget is in the billions. His budget, representative. I can pull it up. It's interesting. But one representative.
our parliament, an hourly rate would be around 5 crores. I think Mukesh ji can correct me, but I think to run a parliament in India for 1 hour, it's 5 crores. Mukesh ji, do you have any idea
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, approximately it's 5 crore something
Yeah,
per hour.
per hour.
Correct.
That's the cost to run a parliament. And then also
Correct.
there are a lot of things going around. And then, I mean, we are not against politicians, but it's just that they get a lot of things at an ease, and it's difficult for us to get those things. And we have to do a lot of follow-ups, and then also we are not able to get those benefits. But it's strange. And Kim, I think apart from USA, we have to talk about global citizens now. I mean, I am very keen towards the idea to have global citizens. If you're not happy in a particular country, you can just swipe a card and move to a different country if the country is ready to accept it, because everything is standardized. Whatever you require in day-to-day life, we also require in day-to-day life, and things like that. And we are working globally. If you talk about technology, if you talk about things like that, but we are not getting the right benefits in terms of citizens, because your country might be doing extra additional tasks as compared to our country, and because of per capita and these situations, it's difficult for us to manage or maybe send our level to different countries. I
No,
don't know. Yes, Rakesh ji.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, while there is excess consumption in the richer countries, there is also excess reproduction in countries like India and China and things like that. And all of this has a cost on the environment. Way back in the 60s, there was this organization called the Club of Rome who published a report called The Limits to Growth. It's a very little known book, but it's something which is an eye opener. And what is this paradigm of infinite growth with a finite planet is illogical, you know, and that is where economics makes such a big difference to our health. We have on one side a lot of consumption, on the other side too much of reproduction, all of which puts a burden on the planet. And if we ignore that in our economic plans, we are headed for extinction.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We're causing our own problems, and we're not working together to solve them. And everybody wants to do this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do this rather than take responsibility or liability. And this is
Yeah.
something I noticed about our leader. Instead of owning up that there's a problem, it's always not my fault, it's their fault. So my thing is stop pointing fingers and sit down and talk about what the problem is. All right, it's not your fault, but we got a problem, and let's fix it. But we live in a society today where something's got to be somebody's fault instead of fixing a problem. And
Yes.
I think that's the big key. And nobody wants to step forward to fix a problem because they're scared it's going to be their fault if it doesn't work. Everybody's fixated on failure rather than fixated on just doing things until you have success. We all know that you're going to make bad decisions and bad moves while you are taking risk for success. We've heard those stories, right? But I think you're right. I think we're going to become our own demise if we're not careful. We're going to become our own.
In
fact,
management, sorry.
COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to reapproach towards the new life in a year, because there are something positive part of COVID-19. Billions of dollars has been spent on environment to clean the air, water, noise, everything. So we have seen that nature has taken their own things, and it's been much better now. So how we can take this forward? How we can have balanced development? That is the key for the any planning. Similarly, we have seen the too much mobilization towards urban, and when this humanitarian issues came up there, people are going back, all these migrants going back to their native place. So we need to have, when we're thinking about the future of development, so you should keep like all this localization. See, all these things are happen because certain thing with only certain countries or certain countries. So even you have something better things, but you're not able to get, human being is not able to get the benefit of that. Just example like PP kit or even basic things was missing. So if you, when we are thinking about the next development, if we can consider as a humanitarian approach, and yes, and then luxury and other thing, because unless until you will not provide the bread and butter, Rakesh ji, you are very much right. There should be balance between the reproduction and regeneration. But let's say this is the time. So take a global citizen, like in India we say Vasudev Kutumbakam. So this is the time to see human being in one planet like equal, and how help them each other. We cannot say you are rich, so bring us also to the rich. But for that we need to also put equal effort. But how we, our approach should be that, okay, I can help you. I have a great technology. I can help you to move further. So balanced approach towards the life, probably that would be the biggest lesson if we can learn from this COVID-19.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that. That let this be a lesson that we learn from and gain the knowledge from. And Kit, you got to.
Rakesh, you want to say something?
I wanted to just say the thing. In the European Union, when Italy and Spain have been very badly hit by the coronavirus or COVID-19, there was a proposal to mutualize the costs of the coronavirus epidemic or the pandemic within the European Union, especially the costs incurred by Italy and Spain. And even this was refused by the Scandinavian, the German, the French countries. You know, even that was refused. And that's already a fairly reasonably well-knit aggregation of countries. To expect this to happen globally, you know, is not going to happen.
No, and we just need to be considerate. We just need to be considerate moving forward. And this is the problem that a lot of people or societies are having. They're scared to be considerate. They're scared to be taken advantage of. And I found the article on the senator's money, if you want to see it real quick. Abhijit, good morning or good evening. Hi, welcome. All right, so let me share with you what I found. You're going to love this. Getting paid with one of our senator's staff. But hold on a second. You got to see the beginning of it, right? I love this. This is how we get paid, right? But this is the article about our speaker, Timmy. And actually, he disclosed the money that they're spending and making. And so if you take a look at it, it doesn't look like much, you know, $38,000 a year for their part-time members, you know, fairly minimum wage to middle-class income, just maybe above. Bart Goodson is one of his chief of staff, is making $177,000, so he lives fairly comfortable. This is in North Carolina, so that's a comfortable income in North Carolina. You know, the deputy chief makes $104,000, and of course, this was a year ago, almost 2 years ago. But you can look at the advisors, how much money they're getting, and of course, there's going to be a lot of 1099s, what you call consultants and things like that. But grand total is $67,000.3 million, 1.1 million for the speaker and his staff. So, and if you add that up for each group, it comes to the billions, right? So, but you can see how fast that added up with just a little bit of incomes and their budgets and things like that. And do they really need that much money? Well, you know, I don't know, but hopefully that money's in circulation, right? Because that's what we want, money in circulation. Am I right? So what happened? We lost some of our people. But circulation of money is very important. Am I right, Mukesh?
It is, while circulation is important, concentration of money with few hands is equally a dangerous thing that is happening. Uh, I would get the feeling that, one side, you have so many people having so much in excess of, even if each one of their families spent, $1 billion, they would still not run out of money. We've got to realize that these people can make this money because they function within a framework of the country, which every little guy, the janitor in a railway station, all of them contribute to that infrastructure. So you cannot say that this person made it only on his own merits. If he was thrown in a jungle somewhere, he would not be, able to make a dime.
Exactly.
So it's this argument of the free market, unrestricted free market, is specious. It is completely illogical. There's a time that we've got to look at punishing two groups of people who over reproduce, and like India and China, and people who over consume, wherever they are. That's even in India and China, you will find in certain pockets there are people who over consume. There was this young boy in Delhi who drove his BMW into some water because he didn't like that it was a brand new BMW.
Yeah.
He drove it into the water because he wanted a better car. What did he want? He wanted some Jaguar or something else, some other fancy car. So this is in Delhi. This is supposed to be, not a rich country. And
I think it's the entitlement that
be punished.
Right. It's the entitlement we're raising our children with. This society has become a very self-entitled.
Very.
And very instant gratification. Everybody thinks their gratification needs to come instantly rather than working for it, which was a joke I was having with Nick when he was a professor at Campbell University teaching law. And his students all were writing a complaint about him because he gave them a little bit of homework. And it wasn't much. I looked at it. I'm not studying law, and I could have done it and would have for the right to be able to study law. And I busted out laughing, and I go, well, I hope your staff gave them all Fs and flunked them. And he goes, no, they kind of came down on Nick, right? But I said, what are these children going to be like when they get out in the real world and they have to work for that living? Because that's what Nick's project was intended to do, was teach them a little bit about what work is, right? But these lawyers don't, and this is why the lawyers have gotten so lazy. And like when I read that article and shared it with you about the SBA loans, they're not reading everything. They're not reading everything that's your rights and entitled to. They're reading here's probably what happened. And I'm speculating, but odds are some senator allowed, because they even wrote, we were allowed to go to a special class for this, right? We were allowed to read these things that haven't come out yet. So they were probably told, this is what you're going to teach the people how to do, so they don't get every bang for the buck, right? But the rich people will. The rich people have already know what they're entitled to and what to get out of it. So the rich people will know how to get 100% forgiveness, whereas the middle classers who hired these guys supposedly to give them the right benefits will only get 75%. Is 75% good? Yeah, it's all right. Hi, welcome.
Welcome back.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm not getting voice, so I had to log out and come back. How are you all, guys?
Hear your voice just fine.
Now it's fine.
Yes.
Hi, Tina, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah.
Hi,
You look
Rakesh.
today. It looks like a black and white view.
Yeah, it's very classic though. I kind of like it.
Classic view, certainly.
It's very classic looking. I think it could be something I might do. I like it. So let's talk a little bit about building the economics. You know, we've been talking about how the medical industry, of course, is going to be benefiting from all of this. But what are some other things we can do now that we're hopefully going to be opening up again? Because Abhijit, you've had some grand ideas about pushing that reset button. And let's talk about that.
I think in every sector and in every probable area of where people have got disengaged, there has to be a balancing act to make other people engaged into it. So if you look at agriculture and horticulture, it itself has a very high potential to take lots of people or lots of laborers. Probably 10 crore people in India are they belong to labor class, and they were not at their own native places, but they migrated to metros, big cities from rural areas. And now after this COVID-19 impact, they're coming back. And since they're coming back, they have to have something to do. So what are the plans which government would be offering them? Agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, then many other things which can be done at this stage of time. It should be very scrutinized, and I think the medium which we use, media and television and social media, instead of discussing and doing sheer politics over what you have done and what he has not done, some government in one state is failed and another government is not doing so well, we should use these resources to carry these informations that how we can engage. If they will not be engaged now, there will be a liability to feed for the other class who has to give some sort of benefit or tax to bear such huge cost for government. And then it would again create a very very unsystematic social imbalance. They would not have anything to eat. There would be problems and troubles which government in coming months would face. So I would say the prime thing is people who are losing job, first thing which government should focus is to engage them. And then I'll keep on adding more things. Over to you, Kim.
One of the problems with that plan is that arable land in India is pretty much completely utilized. And the second thing is that the land holdings are so small that they are suboptimal. So in terms of engaging them with agriculture, that's going to be a challenge. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's going to be a very serious challenge. I throw that open to the rest of you.
So go ahead, Mukesh.
Still in India, almost 60% job creation is agriculture. And all the people who's moved back from this metro cities to their hometown, I think we can provide some sort of rural development, because so far all the government has focused mostly on the urban development. So there is too much divide between urban and rural. So if we can focus separate for this rural development, so agriculture, horticulture, and many other things can be possible, but particularly for rural base. So that can definitely people can engage and provide the job opportunities. And similarly for this urban, where you have more skilled worker, you can have a different development plan.
So I think building hospitals in villages would be very useful. Building hospitals, building schools. If these things were affordable in the villages and easily available, you would not have the migration, the siren song of Asian cities. You would not have that. You have this attraction, this almost fatal attraction towards the cities, because you don't have the facilities in the villages. The biggest fear of the Indian government today is that if people migrate back to the villages, they will be taking the coronavirus back to the villages where there are no hospitals or not even significant medical care. And then you will have a tremendous a tsunami of deaths, and there will be nobody to run your agriculture. You would have all these steel workers and all sorts of white collar workers in the cities and no food.
And I think that's a good point. And Abhijit also made a point that's kind of been spinning in the back of my head about training, right? We're at a point where everything has been kind of reset. We're kind of starting over. So how do we train our people going out into reentry to serve our communities and societies better? And so, I think we need to take a look at training so that the communities can become self-sustainable at this time, especially like in India, right? Where you said that there are some poor sectors of all of this. And there's nothing wrong with training us on how to feed ourselves, grow our own food. We can learn to grow our own food just even in our own apartment. Right?
Absolutely.
If all you had is an apartment, you can learn to grow some food in there, some pots, and maybe a little grow light. And because if you don't get enough light, or if you've got a little patio, one of the things that I've noticed in some of the what I call the smart thinkers, people with flat roofs in big buildings, they've gone up to the top of the roof and they're learning to grow food up there, right? And they're also learning to recycle any rainwater. So when you start growing food and the water recycles through the dirt and gets to the roots and everything, there is a layer of stone and lime that you can have the water filter through that cleans it so that you can use it for bathing and things like that. So I think now is the time that we can start training the people to re-enter with smarter, more quality of life thoughts. Another thing I did not understand is that all of these grocery stores, and I don't know about your markets, but had all of this fresh produce going bad because everybody was storming to go for the long shelf life food. Why didn't somebody go in and turn that food into something that could be delivered to the people who needed it? Because we're talking about food that builds your immunity, but they didn't do that. They didn't. They would rather let that food go bad when you could have taken that food and served to the poverty, right? And
that is the reason, Kim, I said it is more important to focus on the food and primarily the items which we basically require to survive.
exactly.
Because at this stage of time, if you do not multiply your economic growth, but you still remain alive until the virus vaccine is it will take some months. I guess it is coming out, and again people are, and they are coming proven to be a hoax. It's not a medicine, it's not a vaccine. So we have to survive for another at least 2 years. If not, then at least 18 months. If we look at the timeline, what would be the most important thing which this entire population of our all countries will be needing is the food. Horticulture, agriculture, and fishery and other things which we can do primarily increases the production of food. And if the food production is increased, government and the transport system is capable to take it from the production place to the distribution channels. It is still working. So there would not be poverty, there would not be starvation. And people who have lost their jobs, they will be back to job. So what would not happen after doing this is economic growth. Economic growth can be done anytime if you survive.
Yes, exactly. You can always rebuild your economy. The cash, you're right. The cash starts generating and recycling when you've established a means for people to eat and survive. And when they're living, they make a living. And we need to establish that. I think agriculture is, here in America, the only people allowed to get the SBA right now are people in agriculture. They've cut the SBA off from anyone else, and only people with agriculture businesses can get the loan. But I think we need to teach each household. There's a saying, you can feed a man fish and he can eat for a day, or you can teach him how to fish and he will eat for a lifetime, right? And we need to teach our people how to grow food in their own home. And it can be done. You can do hydroponic. If get some fish, right? Because the fish fertilizes the plants, and you can grow plants just in water. And that's something I'm teaching myself how to do. How can I grow more efficiently, more effectively the plants I have and get the most produce out of them. And this is how we each need to start thinking. And granted, I can't grow everything I need or like to eat. Like I like, a lot of foods that come from somewhere else, but I can grow most of what I need and what I like. And it doesn't have to be grown with a lot of insecticides either. I've learned how to grow certain flowers around my plants, and the bugs don't eat them. So I think we need to train people how to become self-sustainable in their own community. There needs to be a consultant that could go around and go, oh, here's a flat rooftop. How can we turn it into solar power for the community? How can we turn it into a garden to feed the community? How do we teach the community to do this together? And everybody can take turns, right? And you do this by incentiveness, not by punishment. But if you go up and you help grow the food, guess what? You get to take it home to your family, right? And it can be fun. You can make it fun and engaging. It doesn't have to be a chore. There are just so many other things. And, our way of transportation is going to have to change, right? And I was listening very hard because I know this is one of your interesting projects as well. Our form of transportation needs to change. It always has, because the way we do it now, it pollutes the world. It's not economical, and it's not safe. There are some last mile solutions that we can focus on, complete electronic. And I don't like autonomous driving vehicles, but now that we've kind of experienced this COVID situation, I'm kind of into, let's take a look at that so that a car can come pick me up and drive me to the doctor without somebody being in it to infect me, right? And how do we sanitize that car after somebody uses it every time? And these are all science fiction movie talks too, if you think about it.
We're doing it.
Yeah, we are. I mean, I've been watching the autonomous driving cars for quite some time, and I interviewed the CTO of Ford, and that was their big project that year. And he kept saying, "Well, why don't you get in the car and try it?" I'm like, no, this girl ain't ready for that. But I think I am now. I think my mind is perhaps if we had this, there would be more ways for people to get to where they need more economically and safer. So what are your thoughts on that?
We are doing it. I think when initially during a project called Vande Bharat, Government of India started extracting people from different parts of the country.
My mind is perhaps if we had this, there would be more ways for people to get to where they need.
Sorry, it was giving you echoes. So initially when the project of Vande Bharat is started, Government of India started extracting people from different parts of globe where people were stuck due to COVID-19. When they came back to India, there was issues to provide them transport. So initially for 2,500 kilometers, a very painful fact that came out that government has to charge through a taxi 10,000 rupees. Later, when we step in, we try to know why it is so high, because people who are coming, they are spending 10,000 Indian rupees for coming from a country to India, and then for next 250 kilometers, they are going to again be charged 10,000 rupees. So it's too bad for them. Plus, if economic is set to be open now, if somebody who has to send their product out of the state, or somebody who has to get raw material for their factory from out of the state, if they will pay such a high charges, then it will be practically impossible to bring back the economy. We got only one answer, that it is due to lots of state approval is involved. That's why it is becoming very difficult for people to pass, to provide a pass or to issue a pass. Primarily, it is something which is absolutely against ease of doing business. And if economy has to come back on its own, then people will have to understand. Even government sector would have to understand it's not possible for a trader or a small manufacturer to pay such a high price, 10,000 rupees for 250 kilometers for taking his raw material or for sending his products out of the state. So they will not be able to open it. And now one of our partner company who is into electric vehicle, electric cars, they started the same service from New Delhi airport to Ghaziabad, Noida, Faridabad, and Gurgaon in 1,000 rupees instead of 10,000. So
Wow.
more is there to come up with each sector. We are starting a discussion on giving opportunity to people who have lost their job into construction sector and other sector which were prominently based in the uh, large cities, and now they have moved. The laborers have moved to their native places, but they are free there. They don't have a job there. So from Monday onwards, we are trying to start a cluster-wise program so that we can suggest them how and what kind of horticulture or what kind of cash crop you can get yourself involved in, and what kind of support government is giving. Seed is available, fertilizers are available, some sort of capital loan is also available for starting them, and cluster by cluster we will also give them the knowledge as per the weather. India is a very huge country as per the weather and nature. So in each cluster, what kind of mango or lychee or what kind of fruit or spice or vegetable you can grow, that also we will relay with our experts on the agriculture. So I think we are starting from Monday and hope it goes well and give some engagement to people.
Yeah,
I think because of the current situation and migrants have shifted to their native places, can we see a rise in agriculture in the next couple of years?
Not next, have to rise within this year, within few months. There has to be a transition of the pattern on which we were working. It is not very easy to bring them back. They are not ready. They have gone through lots of pain, and for government to win their trust, it will take at least 1 year.
Yeah.
Second thing, if they will sit down there, if they will not have anything to do, then they will die because of starvation. And these 10 crore people not let government sit also. So there would be lots of very unfortunate situation and very unfortunate economic or social imbalances. To come out of this, to engage them, agriculture is one of the very important part. Second, the essential services which can be taken. So I think last week only I spoke about how aggressive government is into giving licenses for hand sanitizer, because hand sanitizer requirement is very high in India. All hospitals and all organizations who are opening up, they have a very high requirement of hand sanitization, and it is not as per the requirement. It is not in supply. So new manufacturers and people who were involved into paint and spices and into different type of chemical manufacturing units, they can move to hand production of hand sanitizer, provided they will get a license and some support. So we did a program last week to make them understand how easy and how aggressive government and serious government is to make you and give you good support here. So necessary activities, and what you have asked is the growth into income and some more very basic to survive type of ecology we will have to discuss, we will have to develop, and I think not only this but more towards being and living close to nature, what we discussed with Rakesh and a couple of previous episodes, is required for India to to bring into practice, so that people outside India could understand if it can be practiced. People are not dying, they are developing immunity, and if they're eating well, if they are doing yoga or naturopathy or Ayurvedic, I am not expert of the subject, but there are lots of things which gives you very high immunity, and these knowledges are there in our ancient legacy. If these are practiced and people come out, then obviously it will create not only an ecosystem but also a product for the globe.
and I agree with you. And I think these are things we need to focus on.
And also, when you talk about agriculture, I think we have to focus on the warehousing, because that is an important part. Post once we have the production is ready, if we don't have a good warehouse, if we don't have the good equipment to manage the warehouse, that ways that we can save a lot of food. And also, when you talk about warehousing, the lodging and the logistics are also important. So if we can bring more electric vehicles and things like that to create a more sophisticated environment or infrastructure for farmers, so that they can directly do the selling and buying, and they'll get good amount of money, they'll be happy staying home and doing whatever they can do at the native places. So, are we doing anything on that part as well? The warehousing part and the electric vehicles part for farms?
For warehousing part for farms, for agriculture.
Yeah.
And the second thing, what you have asked for is the electric vehicle. About
how we can integrate the electric vehicle. In that farming culture, because they also use a lot of vehicles and they use diesel and all those things. So if we can bring electric,
we're doing pretty good progress on it. But anything which primarily right now at this stage of time requires an intervention or a development which need to be done into a very high-tech capacity plant or a lab, it would be very difficult to do it at this stage of time. Lots of unit and facilities are closed, and it would not start only for one or two things. And the discussion with the point which you are asking is electric vehicles can be used into farming or not. It would take some fitment and upgradation to use for that purpose. But right now, vehicles which are there in the system, primarily electric vehicles, they can be very well used and very well utilized for doing transportation and for doing transportation of public also. And one more very important system which India is developing, and it need to be very quickly developed, otherwise it will become a disaster for us, is the issuance of pass and multi-state entry. Very important, and it need to be monitored on an IoT device or into a device where it can be accessed and it can be verified at each checkpoint very easily by a mobile or handheld device. Otherwise, it is very difficult for one state police to understand and recognize a pass which has been issued by another state police. If it would not come into immediate practice, then people will not be able to travel, even if the genuine reason or a genuine amount of concern or necessary products they are carrying, they would not be able to reach to their destination. Their products will not be able to reach to them, and it will create lots of lockdown economic arrest into the revival or the entry strategy, which I am seeing. And it is not happening as of now, so it's an area of concern for me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mukesh, do you have any thoughts on that?
In last couple of months, particularly, see, we have some great example, particularly when you talk about PPE kit. So when it is well coordinated efforts, 3 months back before March, there was not any single manufacturer of PPE kits in N95. And today, India, world's second largest manufacturer. And from domestic need, now they're in the process to exporting to other countries. And I am sure it is now sanitization. The sanitizer is also on the pipeline. Maybe India, going to be one of the largest manufacturer of sanitizer also. So it's about coordinated efforts, and of course, a little bit training is required. We have passed a very great example like cooperative movement. Particularly if you see the milk productions and other things, India had did it wonder as for the rural market is concerned. So if we engage all these people with training and of course government policies in place, so very much possible that we can engage most of the unemployed, semi-skilled, and to their location itself. So rightly mentioned, one of our very prominent industrialist, Ratan Tata, owner of Tata Group. 2020 is the year of survival. It is not about the business. And it is very much coming across the world. We are seeing it is how you make yourself more stronger. And again, India is contributing in that direction quite well, particularly as for the Ayush immune system is concerned. So traditional Ayush medicine is coming more stronger. How you can make yourself more, not only the healthy diet, but it has how it can be immune your system so you can sustain with any kind of disease. So these are some good examples we can always replicate in other industries also.
Also, to add on this, both Abhijit and Mukesh, aware about Chyawanprash. I think we have to market that product because that has all kinds of immunity boosters, and we are used to have taken it from past so many years. And I don't know. Abhijit, I feel that we are not marketing our product the way we should. That's what our Prime Minister also wanted. That that there are a lot of local and global brands of Chyawanprash, but we are still not be able to do it. And I am getting a lot of calls every week or so. They want Chyawanprash from India with a good quality Chyawanprash, and it's difficult. So
There is a
yeah,
there is a there is a end to everything if it is alive. And primarily the definition of development which we took up, I'm not talking about only being Indian, but being a global citizen, was basically a very huge lie. When we started developing and when we thought that education and the kind of education which Europe has or Western world has, it makes them very more immune than us because they take care of their lifestyle and their things more. Second, the kind of health system and the kind of health services, the ICU and CCU they have, the kind of advancement they have into their life is again a sign of development, which proven to be wrong into COVID-19 pandemic. And the countries which are like Tibet or Nepal or India, they have less cases. They control COVID. It is a proven fact now after World Bank discussion and the report that India has controlled COVID-19 impact very well with the lockdown. And it will come back with its economic reforms also. But primarily at this stage of time, when we see what has actually gone wrong, then only thing which comes up are very blunt and very true that everyone across the globe is at the same time, at the same period, thinking about same thing. That if we are not, if this was not the development, then what was the development? What is the development right now? Development is immunity, and immunity which gives you actual word meaning of the literal meaning of the immunity above the virus. And it does not come only by eating fruit or doing anything which has been coming into practice. It is coming through living very close. So Chyawanprash is a product, but the lifestyle which India has been promoting and the lifestyle which India has been giving to the world is not only a product, but it's an entire cycle of the day. Yoga is a part of it. Naturopathy is a part of it. Living and walking and doing lots of things, Surya Namaskar and many things is a part of it. So that lifestyle need to be brought into, and then the product is not Chyawanprash, then the product is the immunity, and that immunity is above the COVID-19 and n number of virus attack it can handle. It came into science. It came into Science Journal very well that COVID-19 cannot kill certain people who have an immunity level of a certain level. Still in this program, into this episode also, why these kind of immunity level, where do they exist, how we can achieve it, this is the area of research which globe will start very soon. And I'm not very you will say proud about it, because we have not done justice to our own legacy and our own Vedic wisdom also. But India would come up as a very prompt destination for giving lifestyle coaching to the world now.
I think that we need to start developing those standards now. Like you said earlier, we need to stop pointing the fingers at who did what. And we need to start taking a look at building and establishing the footprint moving forward. And that can be done. And I am a true believer that there are certain cultures that develop your body a certain way, right? So what works for you that might build your immunity up to where it needs to be to fight this might be different than what will work for me. I might need something different. So I think we need to take a look at that as a globe too, that there's not going to be one pill or one vaccine that's going to fix us all. And I think you're right. We need to establish ourselves that we need to learn to live with it and build ourselves up. And that's a business in itself. Really, it is. I mean, it's not just medicine, right? It's a practice. It's a lifestyle.
Difference between the DNA of a monkey or app and human being is only 0.3%.
And it comes, right?
No difference between the structure of an Indian or an American or a Chinese or a European or a Russian. It does not fit. That is due to weather and other condition. We are brought up and we landed up having different type of races. But as a globe, when we are staying on Earth, there is a certain type of environmental common thing which we all experience. That is the gas nature and the heat and the water. And so these immunities are built on very basic things. There might be difference of herbs and the medicines which you may get in India or you may not get in some other place. But if it is available in any part of the world or any part of the country, it should be utilized to the max. So India's nature and its philosophy never had a proud on it. That has gone wrong and against it also, but it never thought and believed into supremacy. If they would have believed into supremacy, they would have gone up or they would have been very proud. But particularly, but
We believe in
particularly,
we believe in live and let live.
yes, absolutely.
We
This
don't
is
believe
the
in.
U.S. This is live and let live, and this is how the U.S. does it.
Ah,
And Kim
pointing each
tries to
other.
be
Yeah.
so good, and then I always say, "But this is, how it." But no, you're right. You are so right. We have to, but I want to do this on a global basis. I want to reset that button. I think for so many years, even though we say we're doing things globally, we really haven't. I don't think we really made that connection. And I think now is the time we can, right? I think now is the time we can erase all of the barriers that have been there, right? And start building the bridges that need to exist. Don't build walls anymore, build bridges. Ankit, I think you said, if I want to come to India, I want to come to India. If I want to go live, there should be no more barriers. It just,
Certainly.
and I don't see why we can't start establishing one humanity rule. One humanity rule. And you know what? Everybody says United States. That's BS. There ain't nothing united about this country. Nothing.
Hmm.
I mean, each state has its own laws. But each state has its own laws. So I could be doing something in North Carolina and it's illegal, and I do it in Colorado and it's legal, right? So I could be doing something common and everyday in Colorado. When I come to North Carolina, I could get arrested for it. So there's no united here, and we work very divided. And you know what? If you ever looked at the rule of the divide and conquer, anyone could conquer us. In fact, I think they already have. China owns all of our money. They own all of our banks. They own all of our oil. They own most of our real estate. They really do. And I think they own us they own all of our pork. I mean, they bought all of our pork factories several years ago. So, I mean, and probably some other things in our food. But again, where we were talking about food is where we need to really build ourselves. We need to feed ourselves and get hungry. Did we just lose 2 people?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess because of technology, maybe.
Bandwidth, and I think Rakesh is already late. It's 11:30 in Hong Kong.
Yeah, he has to leave. I love the fact that he comes and at least shares with us some inspiring words. You know what I enjoyed the other day was when he shared with his shoe kit, his kit, right, of what they use in Hong Kong to get around in. And I'm going to make a kit. Yeah, when in town.
Wow. Oh.
I think we need to make an essential kit from IBM.TV to the world, right? And give it out for donations. I'll contact some manufacturers and see if they'll work with us, or maybe the dollar store.
Yeah, but Kim, if we talk about anything which we need to do correctly in our future post COVID, I think AI is something which will take its own chances, and also AI is very important, and it's a matter of time how we will integrate AI with a lot of things, and then how we can extract the data and then take decision based on those data. That is more important. And I think artificial intelligence in healthcare and agriculture, in different fields in economics, if we started working toward that, I think we can get good results. Because I know that people are talking about AI since a lot of years, but when you talk about root level, you don't see the practical implementation. People still discuss about it in books, and then artificial intelligence will happen with this and that and all those things. But realistically, it's not happening. If we start doing it and then we start reading the data and then we start taking decisions based on AI, I think that could be a way forward. What do you think, Mukesh?
You rightly mentioned that AI is a quite a vast subject and it is being used anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah,
But actual implementation, I think, started just couple of years back. So
yeah,
it can be through AI. Your decision making process would be more predictable. You will be more sure about what you are trying to achieve. So that is one thing. So to large extent, it is happening. So now products are coming, even like some medical products with AI, it is coming, and even our day-to-day life, we have seen this. Google is got entered to everybody's home, so it is there now. Again, within AI, there are so many different divisions. So, what kind of AI it is for the product development, or it is for this just conversational like things there. So many things can be automation possible, and irrespective of industries, it is there. In fact, we are working just one part of this AI, that is conversational AI. So, like, and more generally, it is been called as a like chatbot. So when
yeah,
you have a smart chatbot, earlier it was only text. Now we have voice based also, and it is great that on Wednesday you are going to have voice based.
yeah.
So and it is now multilingual, so it can be many things. So all these are in the process, and with when we have data and other things we go. So I'm sure that today is a COVID-19. Tomorrow there would be some other, so at least like weather forecast, you are forecasting something. Maybe there would be possibilities that yes, next wave of new virus is coming. Get alert better. So situation will be not remains the same. So I think more and more utilization of artificial intelligence in every kind of possibilities. I think we need to move forward towards that.
But Mukesh,
Artificial intelligence.
we can forecast the next wave using AI.
It is, see, it's all these about the data. Like if you know that it is there is a set patterns. This the way a virus is changing the behavior. We have seen this COVID-19, their behavior has been changing. Some countries is different. Some countries it is a different way. It is coming. Sometimes it is symptom is coming, but sometimes symptoms are not coming at all. But over a period of time. So yes, if you capture it scientifically, and yes, based on the algorithm, another thing, it is possible to predict at certain level.
And
But
I will tell you, I'm an engineer by trade, and developed predictive policing analytics to be used by law enforcement. And as I tell everyone, especially when I'm on a speaking engagement, AI is only as intelligent as the HI. Okay.
Yeah,
Period. It is all in how you utilize the data you collect, because AI relies on HI. I don't care,
yeah,
okay. So you have
correct,
to have human intelligence in order to understand what your AI is going to do, and the thresholds you establish, and the analytics that are going to be used to generate the outputs that you want. And that's one of my inventions utilizes that on a very high level, but it's only as smart as the HI, and that's what we have to tell people. Don't 100% rely on it. All right, understand it, understand the purpose, and use it to make your job easier and more efficient, but
correct.
not replace humans. Do not use it to replace humans, and do not use it as a 100%. This is what you, because it can make a mistake, because again, it's only as smart as the data you put into it.
and
And
that is what, if the data quality is not good, I mean, the AI will work according to the data. And we
that's
are
right.
seeing the current COVID-19 also, we are getting different data from different sources, and we are not sure how many people have been diagnosed and what's going on. So I know that it's based on an algorithm, but if you don't have a correct data source, if you don't have a quality data, that is a problem.
And
Well, this
I
is
think
what I tell people: start somewhere, right, and
team
experiment with it. Don't expect it to be 100%, and then develop it a little at a time in stages, right? And test your theory out, and develop a little bit more, and test your theory out, because again, it's only going to be as good as the HI that's put into it. And the data, again, the data could be real stupid. It could be wrong. I mean,
correct.
okay. For example, The more people we test for COVID, the more people we find to be infected.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
What, you know, and I tell people, of course, because we're testing more people. It's not that the test kits are making them sick. And it's not that all of a sudden they were always sick, but it's because we're able to test them. I mean, where's the brain thought there, right? Because somebody's brought up, well, you know, when we stopped testing, the infectious rates went down. And I go, duh. You know, let's think about this. So we got to think smart when we're developing AI. Again, AI is HI on steroids. That's all I got. Caffeine and steroids. AI is supposed to think faster, better, more efficient. It's not supposed to, but you can make it to be predictive, right? If you develop your algorithms in a certain way to generate alerts in certain ways, yes, you can develop it to be somewhat predictive. Like if you attach it to all of your meters on an oil rig, and when each of those meters start building to reach a certain threshold of pressure, and your AI is trained to understand that if it exceeds this pressure, there's danger. If 5 of them exceed this pressure, there's even more danger, right? Then it's out there getting all of this data all day long. It's not a human going out and calculating. So it's going to be able to give you more of a real-time alert when the pressure is about to exceed its threshold, or maybe you need to send an engineer out there. That's how it works. It's not, it is kind of replacing a human job, but maybe it's making their job better, right? It's making him understand I've got 5 of them reaching full capacity, or I've got 1 of them. So, you know, that's the way you need to use AI in many, many cases. If we took a look at Worldometers, which it hasn't updated quite yet. It's in the middle of an update. Yeah. You know, I don't know, Ankit, if you've gone out and looked at it sometimes, but sometimes it's all skewed because I think they're in the middle of an update.
I've checked out a lot of mistakes. So I think a couple of days back, I got to know while I was going through the Worldometer, it says that in UK, 4,400 people have died. And I was surprised. I took a screenshot. And then after half an hour, I checked it. They said 43 people have died. So there is always a lot of data issues, and maybe entering the data or whatever the sources they are getting, we are not sure which data is, good quality data and what are the data sources. And I believe that people or governments are underreporting somehow in the COVID-19 thing.
I don't think they're all reporting every day, and Worldometer, they don't do a constant meter update by the minute like they do on some of their stuff. But let's take a look. Oh, that's United Kingdom is out of date. So let's just look at the overall. But say if we used artificial intelligence and it established some thresholds.
But the problem is that we can use artificial intelligence, we can use HI, but you know that there is political intervention as well, which is happening in between the data, and that's how we lose the right data.
Yeah, I mean,
ultimately, all this data master is human. Yes.
Go ahead, please. Sorry.
Abhijit, I can't hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
Yes, sometimes you fade out, but yes, I can hear you now.
Is it clear now? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Is it clear now?
Yes.
I think you need to join again. I think because there is some problem. It's a delayed thing. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So let's take a look at the Worldometers, real-time world stats. Not the United Kingdom, the other one. All right. Because I've been keeping up with United Kingdom because I'm kind of doing business there right now. But also, I don't know if you people heard, but recently, I think just yesterday, the president had announced that he's going to cut off Brazil from doing business. I haven't had a chance to read the article. But anyway, we're looking at worldwide 5,542,000. I mean, that's I don't think that's ever happened at least in our lifetime. But look at the deaths. We're almost at 500,000. And if we scroll down, and again, if it were me and I wanted to establish a footprint of how to re-enter, I would take data like this and then go out and talk to some of the countries, especially the ones who never officially closed down, the ones who kept their schools open. And I would find out what did they do different to keep their infected rates down and keep their death rates down. I mean, I just learned Iceland did such a fabulous job at this because of the way they tested. You know, they didn't test anybody who already had symptoms because they didn't want to waste their test. But they put them in isolation. You could have the flu or COVID. We don't care. Stay away. And we're going to test people who have no symptoms just to find out who might have it. And then they figured out who to let go to school so that schools could stay open. But take a look. You know, USA is definitely not the footprint to follow. You know, and our new cases just jumped up tremendously. Ankit, have you noticed that? Is Ankit there?
But I think, Kim, this is the morning time in US and today's holiday as well. So we might get the real data tomorrow morning. What do you think?
But still, this is pretty bad. 4,789. Yeah, this is still yesterday's
data. Yesterday's data, it's around 19,000 new cases in US.
How many?
If you check yesterday's data, it says around 90,000 new cases in US.
Wow, I didn't know that. Is that yesterday's data or today?
Just click on the yesterday link, you'll get to know.
So let's scroll down. Oh, they haven't reported. They're in the middle of changing right now. So we'll let them. They're in the middle of upgrading. But look at New York, 371,000.
Wow.
371,000.
And you know, the third is Illinois, and the dean of GIS Business School will be joining us in half an hour from now. He's from Illinois.
But again, you know, when I look at this, you know, North Carolina, everybody keeps bragging that North Carolina is doing good, but we had 600 new, and this was over the weekend. I know that we went up because we reopened, and we're not exactly the brightest bulbs. So I figured we're going to have that's why everybody said, well, what are you going to do? And, you know, all my friends, we're having parties, we're doing this. And I'm like, I'm staying home. And they go, when are you going to come out? I go, I'm going to come out in about 4 to 6 weeks if I see that there's not a huge infected rate. You know, and everybody goes, oh, you're living in fear. So yeah, I'm living. There's a key to that. I'm living. So it's not fear, it's facts. And the facts are, I don't think we're ready. I don't think we had good sound stages in place. One of the reasons why Iceland survived so well is they had a pandemic plan. Go figure. They had a pandemic plan. So when the one person was found infected, they put the pandemic plan into action that day. They didn't talk about it. They didn't ask, are we going to be hit economically? They just put it into action, and testing, they attribute testing to their success. So I'm
surprised, Kim, we don't have a world pandemic organization. I mean,
we did. They fired him. Our president fired him.
This is a world pandemic organization like WHO, and they should
WHO's job.
The data and master data and things like that, just to understand what's going on, and also the best practices. And whenever there's a pandemic happening in some continent or somewhere, the team should automatically get active and do their task.
So you know what I'm confused about? I'm confused about why we have 3 different organizations that get funded that do not work together. We have the CDC, we have the WHO, and we have the NFID. And quite honestly, if I were going to follow any of their advices, it would be the NFID. Right? National Foundation of Infectious Diseases. And the NFID, it's a infectious disease doctor you want on site during a pandemic or an epidemic, because that's who saved the people in Nigeria when the Ebola hit them in 2014. It was an infectious disease doctor. It wasn't the mayor. It wasn't the president. it wasn't a scientist. It wasn't a doctor. Infectious disease. Okay. And that's what I think we're kind of confused. Why are we funding 3 different organizations? Okay.
World Bank was, I think it was made because of the reason which Ankit has listed just now. That there has to be an external company and has to be an external agency which can go cross-border. And it can have a depth knowledge of all countries, particularly about the human health. And when there is a development or when there is a crisis, where not as a country, but something which has happened, it is also listed into World Bank details, the memorandum. I don't know the exact terminology, but into the main reason it is listed that if there is an biological weapon, if there is an crisis due to war, then WHO and United Nations, they have to go there and they have to provide crisis management and support to people. But at this stage of time, the requirements which Ankit listed just now is the exactly same which World Bank was supposed to do and which they have terribly failed. So obviously there is a gap which they have created, and I'm glad that Kim is saying that the president has fired them. It is not working. If it is not serving the purpose, there is no point. But
well, the thing is that we had a NFID foundation. See, I don't understand why we were paying 3. This is the problem I have. Why are we letting one? It should have been one, and it should have been global. Period. It should have been global. There should have never been classified information. That's irritated me since day one. That they had classified information on health. No, you don't have classified information on health. So, whoever this next organization is, I would even nominate us because at least we talk openly about it. But whoever this next organization is, they have to be extremely transparent. They cannot be funded for the purposes of intellectual property. They have to understand that nothing they do is for their own personal gain or for the organization's gain. It is purely for the world information. And I think that the National Foundation of Infectious Disease, the doctors there tried to sound the alarm back in February. They were reaching out. They were contacting not FAUCI, not CDC, not WHO, but the NFID. I've got videos of them going everywhere they could. Just listen to us, people. If we don't do something soon, we're going to be in trouble. Those are the people we should have had taking care of all of us. Those were the guys who they're the ones who roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty when something like this happens. And so I agree with you, Abhijit. Firing the people that were supposed to be doing this job is the first thing we need to do. So this is not a situation where it's like cybersecurity and all that happened was you lost all your money. This is a situation where your decisions to not act appropriately killed people, lives were at stake, and not
India is now chairman of World Bank.
Yeah.
After this, so people who are not working and acting properly, our prime minister will make sure they will act properly.
If you talk about that World Bank chairmanship, this is for 3 years. And, is it a full-time chair or is it still chair we can share with someone?
It's a revolving chair. It is not permanent. It takes time, and meanwhile also there are provisions that how it can be it can be joined or it can be shifted to somebody else. But primarily it is for 3 years, and there might be an extension again if it is voted that way. But these 3 years are the most important 3 years for World Bank, when Prime Minister of India and India as a country is having the chairmanship. And I'm not sure how much anger and how much this differences are already there between the chairmanship and the last management, who was, I don't know at what level, involved with China to hide this pandemic and to not to stop or not to raise a flag in time flag, I would say. If they would have done this, then world at least would not have gone into such a pandemic. Only China would have affected, and that is what World Bank was supposed to be doing. When there is a requirement, they have a fund and they do it. They have been doing it from a long period. That there is a requirement, there is a crisis, then World Bank has to step in with United Nations if it is a war crisis, and if it is only an health crisis, then they have to provide grants so that it can be taken back and it can be cured into that area. They are not supposed to be waiting for the economic condition of the country or the state, whether they are capable or they are in strength to handle with the health situation of the people out there or not. They have sufficient money to provide a grant and take care of it. So when in China this pandemic initially got flagged out, World Bank was supposed to be going there and giving all type of support which it is required, but to stop the virus transmission at there only, not to the world. But this is the place where they failed. The kind of information update which other country were required, how to detect it, how you can stop it at your airport,